Hi, in this video we're gonna finish the building construction and hopefully create the basics of building upgrade. So in the previous video, if you remember, build time was updated with delay. So to fix that, let's go to the client project, and in the scripts, in the player script, we need to go to the update. And here in the update function, we can just say data.nowTime equals to data.nowTime, and we're gonna add seconds, and the value for the seconds is going to be time.deltaTime. So now let's go to the database here in the server buildings. If you remember, in the previous videos we added a few values for level 0. We don't need that, let's just delete that. And now to avoid any problem, let's go to the server project, and here in the get buildings async, instead of using parse, I'm gonna change all of this to try parse. So basically, to change that to try parse, we're gonna say try parse, and instead of making this equals to the value, I'm just gonna cut that, and let me remove that part. And here inside the parentheses, I'm going to add another parameter, and the parameter is going to be the value I cut from there. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to add an out to the beginning of it. So this way it is going to try to parse the value inside this to a long. If it's a successful, then it's going to put that value inside our building.database ID. I'm going to do exactly the same thing for all other values. So to increase speed, I'm just going to use Ctrl X and Ctrl V to cut and paste. So this one is a little tricky. First of all, I'm gonna define a variable for it, then I'm gonna parse it into that variable, and after that I'm just gonna assign the value for it. So let me just copy that try parse and paste it for all of these, and add an out. Let me just copy that and paste for all of this, and now I'm gonna continue with the other ones. And now for this one, let's just create an integer and name it is constructing, and it's gonna be equals to 0. And I'm just gonna copy this part, paste it here, and this is going to be is constructing, and let me copy that. That's it. Now I'm gonna use try parse for all of this. And I'm gonna use out to assign the values to our variables. And here our radius is an integer. Let's make it a float, and that should fix it. Now there is one little problem I found. Let's go to the collect async, and here in the second query, when we select the building ID, building storage and stuff like that, here we're gonna add another condition. To the end of it, we're gonna say and buildings dot level is greater than 0. So it's gonna exclude any building that has not been built yet. And now let's go to the database and create the necessary columns here in the server buildings and the structure. I'm gonna add one more value, and I'm gonna name it gained XP. And by default it's gonna be 0. Let me create this. So whenever we build this building or upgrade to that level, we're gonna gain that much experience. So let's go and add that values to the data as well here in the server data and the building. Well, actually in the server building we need to add 2 more values. Let me just copy this. The first one is going to be build time, and the second one is going to be gained XP. Now here in the building we also need to add a value. So before we do that, let's go and create the columns for it in the buildings table structure. I want to insert another value, and it's going to be construction build time. It's going to be an integer, and let me create that. We also need to add this to our data class here in the server and the data class. I'm just gonna copy an integer and let's name it build time. So to match the server and the client, let me open the client data, and I'm gonna copy those values to here as well. Let's start by the build time on the building class. Just gonna paste it here. And now let's go back and bring build time and gain XP as well. I'm gonna paste them here. And we also need to get those values in our database whenever we are requesting the player data. Let's go to the database, get server buildings async, and here we need to add those values. Let me open room for them. I'm just gonna copy this and this. The first one is going to be build time and the other one is going to be gained XP. It's gonna be build time and gained XP. And let me just copy that, bring it up here. The same thing for gained XP. So that's it. Now let's go and set the construction build time here in the place building async. Let's check this out. And when we are inserting, we're gonna say add another factor. And let me just copy that. It's gonna be construction build time. And the value for it, let's add another parameter. It's gonna be parameter index 5, and it's going to be time. So that's that. And to get the value for that build time, let's go to get buildings async. Here we are going to add that as well. So let's say here, I'm just gonna copy that, add another parameter, and it's gonna be construction build time. And let's also get it from here. It's an integer, so I'm just gonna use an integer, paste it here. It's gonna be construction build time, and this is going to be build time. Now before we go any forward, let me open the paint, and I'm gonna resize this to 32 by 32. Well, actually, let's just use 1 at 1. It doesn't matter. And I'm just gonna save it. It has a white color in the desktop, and I'm gonna name it blank. And let's save that. And let's go to the client. Here is the blank file. Drag and drop it into sprites. And that's it. It's just a empty white picture, and it says only textures with width of 4 can be. Well, let's apply this. I'm just gonna show it in the folder, edit this, and let's resize it to 64 at 64. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna save that, and that's at 2 kilobytes. And here in my canvas, in the main, in the elements icons, I'm gonna drag and drop the bar we created in the previous videos. And for this sprite here, I'm just gonna use the blank picture we just created. It's gonna make it look better. Let's take a look. As you can see, when I change the value, it's gonna change the fill amount. And also this UI bar, I don't like it this way. Let me just open this up. And the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna remove this time, and instead of that, I'm gonna name it texts, and I'm gonna make it an array of texts. I'm also going to remove all of these values. It's unnecessary. And let's just actually remove everything. So this is the only things we need here. And now let's go back to the UI. So we have a bunch of errors. Let's go and fix them. For now, let me just comment that. What is the second error? And let me just remove that line. So let's go back and let it compile. And now here in the texts, I'm gonna add this text, and let's apply everything and delete that. Now let's go to the scripts building, and here that we commented system dot time span equals to data dot construction time minus player dot instance dot data dot now time. And let's say if span dot total days is greater than 0, we're gonna do something else. And in this case, we're gonna say build bar texts number 0 dot text equals to span dot toString, and we're gonna add a format. Gonna say days backslash that hours, minutes, and seconds. And let me just copy that, paste it here. And in this case, we're not gonna use days. And here build bar dot fill amount equals to mathf dot absolute something, and it's gonna be 1f minus something, and this is going to be span dot total seconds divided by data dot build time, and I'm just gonna cast both of them as float. Now let's go to the player here. When we are instantiating the collect button, let's actually set the visibility of it to false, something similar to this one in the build bar. I'm just gonna paste it here and say building.collect button dot set active to false. Let me copy that, paste it for this one and this one, and save that. And now let's test this to see if everything works the way it's supposed to. I'm gonna start the server, and now let's play the client. So to test everything, let's place a building. Let's place a gold mine, and here I'm gonna place that. So it says no resources. Well, let's place an elixir mine. Here we go. As you can see, the bar is getting filled, and at the same time the timer is working the way they should. Well, these 2 zeros shouldn't be shown here. Let's check this out. Actually, I think we handled that. If span.total days greater than 0, well, I think we should change that to greater to 1. I don't know what total days means exactly, but well, that's probably gonna fix it. So now whenever we select a building, we need to add an upgrade button here, and we're gonna use that upgrade button to go to the next level of the building. And I don't know why the collect button of this elixir mines are not showing. Let me check them out in the buildings. So let's take a look at these elixir mines. Well, they have enough resources in the storage to be collected. This probably has something to do with the value of collect building button that we just set to false. So let me stop the server first. Let's go back to here. Well, the gold mine was working fine, but the elixir mine, let's go to the adjust UI here in the building script, adjust UI, and yes, we have a condition that we need to add for other resources as well. Let me just copy that, paste it once and twice. The first one is going to be elixir mine, the second one dark elixir mine. And here in the data minimum gold collect, let's go and create 2 more values. I'm gonna paste it twice, minimum elixir and minimum dark elixir. So let's go back and say minimum dark elixir, minimum elixir, and everything else should be the same. Now let's go to our Unity editor. Here in the UI, I'm gonna add another script and name it UI building upgrade. And let's open this up. So I'm gonna add the namespace. And let's say using Unity engine .ui, and also let's add an instance for it, something similar here. Just gonna copy and paste that, and let's also bring that elements game object, paste it there. And this is going to be of type UI building upgrade. Now let's go to the building options and let's create a public rect transform. It's gonna be info panel. Let's create another one. It's gonna be upgrade panel. And of course I'm gonna create 2 more, but the type of those 2 is going to be button. gonna be info button and upgrade button. So let's assign the value of these variables in our inspector. Let's go to the Unity editor, and here in the options we have elements. Let me expand that. We have a button info. I'm just gonna duplicate this. This is gonna be button upgrade. And let's adjust the text to 30. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the looks of this. Here in the options, that is going to be info panel and upgrade panel, and each one of those have a button. I'm gonna assign the buttons as well, and let me disable that and save this. So let's go back to the script. So let's say if a status is true and our building dot selected instance is not equals to null. So this happens in the set status info panel dot game object dot set active. We're gonna say building dot select instance dot data dot is constructing equals to false. In that case, we're not gonna show the info button. I'm just gonna copy that. This is going to be upgrade button, and we're not gonna show the upgrade button as well. So let's check out and see where this select status is being called. So it's being called from two places. One of them is here in the selected, and the other one in the deselected. The one in the deselected we don't care because setting it to false. The one that is setting it to true, here it is in the selected of the building script, but here it is going to set the select instance. We actually need to cut this. I'm gonna cut that and paste it here, because we want to call that method after we assign this selected instance. So that is that. So now let's go to the camera controller. Here in the script camera controller, we need to detect whenever we click on one of those buttons on the info and upgrade button. For some reason the click on that button is not being detected. So I actually spent a lot of time thinking about this, and the only solution I could find, well, actually temporarily we can just go to the camera controller. Let's take a look on, let's say, where is it, screen clicked, and here when we say is screen position over UI, let me just open a space here. Here is the function that is being called. Let me just copy all of that and let's paste it here. So that is the position, and instead of this I'm gonna say if results dot count is less or equal than 0. So that's that. We don't need to get into that. Let's get down here in the else. When we have a selected instance, then we're gonna loop through all that results that we got. Let's say results dot count, and I'm gonna say if results I dot game object equals to building options dot instance dot info button dot game object. If it's the same button, do something. And let's say else if it is upgrade button, then do something else. And here I'm just gonna create a bool, name it handled equals to false. And here if I say if handled, then I'm just gonna return, and here it is, handled equals to true. The same thing here. So here it is, to do show info, and here also to do upgrade. Now here we created a UI building upgrade. Let's go and create the panel for it here in the canvas. I'm just gonna create an empty game object. Let's make it fill the parent. Create another empty game object within this. This is gonna fill the parent as well. And here inside this I am going to create a UI button, and this button also going to fill the parent. Let me set that to 0, and let's remove the sprite from this image of the button, and let's change the color to black and fade it to something like this. So this is gonna be upgrade, building upgrade, and this is going to be elements. And this button, whenever this button gets clicked, we're gonna close this panel, and let's create another panel, and this is going to hold the content. Let's make it something like this. This is gonna be 15, let's say, and this is going to be 80. The same thing here. Let's actually make this 20, 85. Well, something like this is good, and I'm just gonna fill this. Now let's go here and attach this building upgrade we created. That is going to be our elements. Let's also add the close button. So to do that, I'm just gonna copy that, paste it here. This is going to be button, and this is going to be close button, and let's make it a private one, and here it is going to be private void close, and this is going to be private void start. And in start, we're gonna add the listener of the close button. And here I'm simply going to say elements set active to false. So let's go here and assign the close button, and let's name it close button as well to clarify. And I'm gonna hide that. Let me save this, and let's play the server and see what we have done so far. And let's play the client. So it's open by default. Let me close that. Let's see what is that here. We're setting it to true. Actually, let's set it to false in the awake. But let's go back to the game. Here it is. So when we select a building, we have two options. We have info and we have upgrade, and we need to add the listeners for these buttons. So let's go back to our client, and here in the camera controller, here when the upgrade button is pushed, we're gonna say UI building upgrade dot instance, and let's actually create another function. I'm gonna make this close a public. Maybe we want to close it somewhere else, so and create a copy out of this. The other one is going to be open, and let's say it is going to set this to true. Let's go to the camera controller, and we're gonna say open. Let me save this and play it one more time. So this is it. I'm gonna select a building, select upgrade, and as you can see, this is gonna pop up, and that should be it. Well, we actually don't need to use that handled boolean, so let me just comment that out for now. Maybe we could use it later, but for now I'm just gonna comment that. And now let's go to the server. I'm gonna stop the server, and now let's create a function. I'm just gonna use another function. Let's say use this get building async. I'm just gonna copy that and let's paste it down here. It is going to be get building async. It's gonna take a long, which is going to be the building ID and another one for the account ID. And the type is going to be data.building. And let's take a look. And we're gonna say select level and global ID. Let's take a look at this. Let's say global ID from buildings, where ID equals to that and account ID equals to that. It's gonna be ID and account ID. So it's gonna select those values for us, and here instead of a list we're just gonna say building, and it is going to be building equals to null, and at the end we're gonna return that building. So let's take a look. Here it is. If we have a row, building equals to new building, so building.id equals to global ID, and for the level we're gonna say, let me clear everything else, and to fix this error we need to change this to data.building instead of list data.building. So it's gonna get the global ID and the level of any building we ask for. So I'm just gonna copy another function. Let's just go up here and use this sync player data. I'm just gonna copy that, paste it here, and I'm gonna name it get next level requirements, and it's gonna get an ID and a long, which is going to be the building database ID. The first thing we're gonna get the building data building. Let's say b equals to get building async, the function we just created, and instead of this one I'm gonna pass the database ID, and the second one is going to be account ID. So if this b is not null, and actually let's name this building. So if this building is not equals to null, then our building equals to await get server building async, and it's gonna take the building dot global ID, which is our ID, and our building dot level plus 1, and let's just name this b, and this is going to be data dot server building, and I'm just gonna cut that a string, place it here. So this is going to be data, it's gonna be data dot server buildings, that's gonna serialize the b, and let's cut all of this, paste it here, and we're gonna write the data. Let me just copy paste it here, and the database ID, and we need to create a request ID for it in the terminal. Let's go to the data. This is going to be pre-upgrade, and let's create another one called upgrade. So let's go back here and say this is gonna be pre-upgrade, and let's go and say in the terminal, whenever we receive a pre-upgrade, it is going to be containing an ID. This is gonna be get next level requirements, and let's say I, and let's create another case statement for upgrade, leave it blank for now, and let me just copy these two new request IDs, place it in the client here in the player, and here when we receive the response to the packet, here receive packet in the client, let's say case pre upgrade. Here I'm gonna say long I, there's gonna be a database ID, and it's gonna be a string re equals to read a string. So let me remove all of that. Let's go to the building options. Well, actually here in the camera controller, when we open the upgrade panel, let's just cut that and bring it here. And here in the camera controller, we're gonna create a packet. I'm gonna need to add the namespace up here. Let's say using developers hub.realtime.networking.client. Let's go back, and this is going to be our packet, and let's say packet.write. It's gonna be building.selectInstance.data.database ID, and we're just gonna say sender.tcp sent packet. But before we do that, we need to give it an ID, so we're gonna say packet.write, and we're gonna cast it to an integer, and it's gonna be player.request id.preupgrade. And let's go back to the UI here. I'm gonna open this building upgrade. Well, I'm not gonna get into the look of this, but let's create some basic values. I'm just gonna create a text mesh pro. This is gonna be require gold. So that's our required gold. So let me just open the view. Well, this text mesh pro is a little weird, so let me align it to center. I am going to duplicate this, bring it down here, duplicate that, bring it here another time, and here I'm gonna create a button. Let's say upgrade. And this is gonna be button upgrade, require elixir, require dark, and require gem. Well, we could create an option later so to disable any value that is 0, but for now let's just leave it like this, and let's actually create another one, name it build time. So that's it. It's gonna be build time, and here let's create the values. Just gonna copy that, paste it here, and we need to say using TM Pro. And at the end, we're just gonna create a button called upgrade button. So let's add the listener for the button. Just gonna say upgrade, and let's make it private. So here in the open, I'm just gonna pass a data dot server buildings. That's gonna be building. So here in the player, we're just gonna pass the deserialized value of that. So let's deserialize it first. I think we did something similar around here. Yes, this is a function that we deserialize a value, and this is also, let's change that to something else. Let's say, well, whatever, any value. It's conflicting with the other I values up there, so doesn't matter. This is gonna be data dot server buildings dot server buildings, and this is going to be RE, and let's name this as R and pass this as R in the open. So we're in the building upgrade. The first thing we're gonna check, we say if building dot ID, well, let's actually say a string dot is null or empty. Do something, otherwise everything is good. So here I'm gonna say required gold dot text equals to building dot required gold dot to string. The same thing here for other values. This is going to be required elixir, required dark, required gems, and required time. This is going to be build time, required gems, and required elixir. So let's go and assign these values. Here it is, required gold, elixir, dark, gems, time, button, and let me disable that. Let's save this, and of course, to make it work, we need to go to our database here in the server buildings. I'm gonna insert another value for my town hall. So let's say global ID of town hall level 2. Let's say it requires 300 golds, 500 whatever gems. It doesn't need gems. And let's get down here in the columns count. Let's put 3 and 3 temporarily, of course. Health, let's say 120, and gain XP, let's say 23 or whatever. Build time is going to be, let's say 100 seconds, and let's hit go. So that's it. We have a town hall level 2 with that requirements. Let's play the server and see if our town hall could be upgraded. Now the server is running. Let's play this client. Now let's find the town hall. I think this one was the town hall. Let me hit the upgrade. Yes, this is the 300, 568, and the values we selected, and 100 is the build time. So right now when we hit upgrade, nothing of course happens because we haven't defined that yet. But let's select another building and hit upgrade. As you can see, it's all 0 because we don't have a value for level 2 in our database for that particular building. We could actually add an option, so whenever we can't find any value for that level, we just disable everything and say max level reached. So that's also something we could do. But right now we need to take care of this upgrade button. Let me stop the client and the server. So to take care of that, we need to send a package. Where is it? Let's go to the client here in the upgrade. Here it is. We need to send a packet to the server requesting the upgrade of this building. So here in the camera controller, I think we did something similar. Yep, let's just copy that. So here in the upgrade, I'm just gonna paste it. Instead of pre-upgrade, I'm just saying upgrade, and of course we need to add the namespace. That's it. And here we need to create a long, let's say private long id equals to 0, and here let's actually say id equals to building dot database id. So here we're just gonna pass the ID instead of that. Now let's go to the server and receive that here in the terminal. Well, let's create a database ID up here. I'm just gonna say long database ID equals to 0. And here instead of that, I'm just gonna say database ID. The same thing here, database ID, and I'm just gonna copy those values, paste it here, and let's go create a function for this here in the database. Well, let's actually copy place building because that's very close to what we're about to do. So I'm just gonna copy and paste these two functions for place building. Here I'm gonna paste them here. So the first one is place building. I'm just gonna say upgrade building. So we don't need a device. We don't need any of those. We just need a long which indicates the building ID. So let's go to the terminal and say upgrade building and pass those values. Let's go back, and the second is going to be upgrade building async. Now let's go and check this out. There's a lot of things we don't need to check because we can simply say upgrade building async. We can do this. Let's cut that, and let me just remove everything here. So that's it. This is going to be upgrade, and this upgrade building async, it needs an account ID. And of course, let's see how we could get an account ID. That's it. And let's get down here. That is going to be our account ID. And we also need to pass the building ID, which is going to be a long. And that's our building ID as well. So we can just say building ID. And this is going to be upgrade building async. So if the value that is going to be returned is 0, which means upgrade failed, otherwise upgrade was successful. So let me just collapse that, we don't need that. But here we're gonna select, well actually we need to get the level, so let's also pass an integer, and let's say this is going to be level of the building. We need that, so to do that let's actually create an opening here. We are getting the level from here, so let's do something similar. I'm just gonna paste it here and say this is going to be building ID, and let's pass the building dot level. So that's it. Let's get back here. So the first thing, we're gonna select the build time from server buildings where global ID equals to 0. What is 0? Well, let's actually pass the global ID as well. So this is going to be a string global ID, and here in the upgrade building we also going to say building dot global ID, which is the ID of the class. So let's collapse that here. The first thing we're gonna pass is global ID. So we're gonna say select build time from server buildings where global ID equals to that and level equals to this. We are passing the level, and it is going to be level plus 1. We're gonna get the build time of the next level. So if we could find a value, so then in that case time is greater than 0. Well, this is a little problematic because we might have a building that we want to place almost instantly, so let's actually create a boolean for it. Let's say boolean have level equals to false, and here have level equals to true. And instead of checking if the time is greater than 0, we're just gonna say have level. Well, it actually needs the values for required gold, required elixir, and gems, and the other stuff. We could get those values from here. So let's create the necessary integers. We're gonna select those values as well, and let's assign them here. The first one is going to be required gold. The same thing for the other values. It's gonna be required gold, required elixir, dark elixir, and gems. So that's it. We can just pass those values. And that's gonna take care of that for us if there is a level for this building. So first we're gonna get the necessary values. If it has a level, then we're gonna spend the resources. If we spend the resources successfully, then we don't insert into the buildings. We're just gonna update buildings, and we're gonna set the is constructing equals to 1, and construction time equals to, let's say, now plus interval 4 seconds. Let me cut that and paste it here. And the construction build time equals to another parameter, let's say parameter number 2, I think, and let's clear this other stuff and let's double check. So we're gonna say update building set is construction to 1, construction time equals to now plus interval, let's say 0 second, and that 0 is going to be our time, 0 second, and construction build time equals to, let's say 1, and that 1 is going to be time. So here we go, that is that. And here ID equals to, let's say 1, which indicates a successful upgrade of the building. Otherwise the ID is going to be 0 and it indicates that something was wrong. So yep, that's it. Here in the upgrade buildings, we're gonna send that result. We could just say packet.write ID. So instead of checking for building ID, I'm just gonna say that. Let's remove that, and it's gonna be package upgrade. It's being called from terminal, and here let's take a look at the client side. It's gonna call this whenever we click on that button, and let's get the result here in the player. In the case of a successful upgrade, let's say what we are sending from the server. Here in the database we are sending a long value, so let's go back to the client and say result equals to that, and if this result is greater than 0, otherwise do something else. So we're saying debug.log, something went wrong, and in this case we are going to say UI.buildingUpgrade.instance.close, or we could actually just close it. Let me just remove that, and now here we're gonna copy this and temporarily let's just say upgrade started, and let's go to the building upgrade, and here after we hit the upgrade, close the panel immediately. And now we need to add this upgrade to the listener. Here something similar to the close. Just gonna paste that, and here saying upgrade button. This is going to add the listener to the upgrade. And let's go and play the server and see what we did and if everything works the way they're supposed to. Here in the client, let's play this and let's upgrade the town hall because that's the only building that we set a level 2 for it. And we're gonna click upgrade. Well, apparently we have an error. Let me stop this. So here, let's see what is happening. Well, the reason this happens, it's probably because this building is null. So let's check if building equals to null or not. I'm gonna add an else statement. Let's take a look here. I'm just gonna cut this, paste it here, and here I'm gonna paste 0. But this shouldn't have been null. If this is null, it means that the building ID was a wrong number. So let's go to the client and let's take a look. This is the ID of the building. This ID is getting from UI.building database ID. Well, this is actually server buildings that database ID. So yeah, this is the wrong ID. We need to get the buildings database ID. So let's see where this is being called. Find all references. It's getting called from the player, and yes, we need to pass that ID. Well, I wasn't actually very creative with the variable names, so let's just go and create a database ID up here, and we could use that for other cases as well. So let's get down here, and instead of that I'm just gonna say database ID, and your upgrade I'm gonna pass along, so it's gonna be database ID, and this ID equals to that database ID, and here in the player I'm just gonna pass that database ID, and this should fix the problem. Let's play it one more time. Let's go to the client, and I'm gonna go and upgrade my town hall. Let's hit upgrade, upgrade started, as you can see, and here it is. The timer is counting down, but there is a big problem. Apparently all the buildings are upgrading at the same time. Let's go and check out what we did wrong. It's probably something in the server. Upgrade building async. So let's get here, upgrade building set is constructing to 1. Well, we need to add a where, so that is crazy. It just upgraded all the buildings. Where ID equals to the parameter with the index of 2, and that is going to be our building ID. Well, everything works fine, and that just fixed our problem. So now all our buildings are being upgraded. Let's take a look at the buildings. I'm just gonna delete all of them except the town hall. So let's check all, and I'm gonna leave the town hall out of this and delete them. Yes, and let's put the is constructing to 0. Now let's go and take a look at the authenticate player async. Here it is. We are inserting a town hall for the player when we start the game. Well, actually, let's insert a few other things. Let's say we want to insert a gold mine as well. So we're gonna say gold mine, and let's put it on 2020, and that is a gold mine. Let's add a gold storage. So I'm just gonna copy and paste that. Let's say gold storage, and let's put it this one on 3030, and let's copy these two, paste them here. This is going to be elixir mine, and this is going to be elixir storage. This is going to be 2530, and let's say this is going to be 2030. Hopefully they're not gonna overlap each other, so let's just leave it like that. Start the server, and I'm just gonna go and delete the town hall as well, and let's go to the accounts and delete the account as well. I'm gonna start everything from the beginning. So let's play the game. Yes, they are alright. So at the start we have a town hall and a bunch of resource buildings. Of course, right now we don't have a resource to upgrade town hall, so let's actually go and add some resources to our storages here in the building. In the gold storage I am going to add, let's say, 1,000, and also add 1,000 to my elixir storage, and now it's been updated. Let's upgrade our town hall. Well, that is not our town hall, this one is. So I'm gonna upgrade, hit upgrade, and that's it. Our town hall is being upgraded. At the same time we could create another gold mine. I'm gonna place it there. Of course we don't have any resources for that. Let's place an elixir mine. Let's see if we have resources for that. Yes, we do. So just like this, we've created building placement and building upgrade. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.